Hey, everybody. Happy Blast Off Day. Have you noticed today's date? 4321. Yeah, just putting that out there. So, welcome to a new series. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to have a fantastic person with us this time as well, Joe Suarez, and I'll let him introduce himself here in a minute. But this is going to be a five-part series. We are kicking off with building with TechSmith Camtasia. So, really excited to actually revisit an old portfolio piece that I made, gosh, I think 3 years ago now, and really look at maybe how I built a branching video. But most importantly, we're going to be talking about things that you may want to use and things that may be beneficial for you on your journey. And hopefully you can maybe make a portfolio piece too. And sorry, there we go. Captions are up. So we'll go ahead and just hop right into it. So if you haven't met me, hi, I'm Kara North. Random fact is I am afraid of eyeballs. So Halloween is not fun for me. I don't like seeing all the eyeballs everywhere. And again, if I haven't had a chance to meet you, I've been in the learning development space pretty much my entire professional career. So I've worked at places like Amazon and the Ohio State University, and now I run a small training team for a manufacturing company, and I've been there for almost a year, which has been really awesome. So I'll go ahead and turn it over. Joe, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Joe Suarez. Kara entered a random fact at me that is true. I once won a beard bib at a conference. Be careful when you enter conferences because you never know, or raffles because you never know what you might get. I started out as an e-learning developer in the retail space in 2007, moved on to a healthcare company as an instructional designer in 2012. And now I'm an independent learning experience designer / e-learning developer.
Excellent. Well, again, we're glad to have you. And I'm also trying to monitor, just so you all know, we are streaming currently on YouTube. So my YouTube channel, Unfiltered ID, we are streaming in Crowdcast. So either place will get you access to everything. So I see a question in the Crowdcast. If I have a Crowdcast that you can join, this is it. So I'm glad that you're here. So with that being said, I would like folks to just take a brief moment and introduce yourself. We have a lot of folks actually here with us live today, which is really exciting. But I'd love for folks to introduce yourselves in the chat, whether you're on YouTube or on Crowdcast. And here's actually a neat little heat map that Crowdcast puts together based on where people register from. So looks like we possibly may have a global audience. So that's really awesome. So really excited for that. So just take a moment to introduce yourself. Also believe that, if you have a LinkedIn and you want to connect with other people, this is a great time to also, connect with other people. So if you also want to share your social medias in the chat to learn with other people, that would also be fantastic. Question I get asked a lot, why do you do this? Why do you stream? Why do you take time out of your day? And now I've pulled in Joe Suarez in this adventure. I want to just share that I think it's so important to pay it forward. So this is a free event. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to sign up for my Discord server, Slack, mailing list, whatever, right? I'm just doing this because I've had so many people along the way help me. And I think it's really important to pay it forward. And I totally believe in that, and I know Mr. Suarez does as well. So, as we're going through this series, I highly, highly, highly recommend you actually working out loud. And so, what I mean by working out loud is if you pick up a tip, if you decide to build your own branching video in Camtasia along with us in this series, share it. You just never know what that may do for other people, and it can also really help you get some good feedback. So, if you feel comfortable, I highly recommend working out loud, sharing your work with other people, and, I speak for myself, and I know Joe will agree with this. Tag us in it. We'd love to see it as you're building it along the way. We think that that's really awesome as well. All right. I have too many monitors up, you all, so sorry about that. I can't get back to the monitor. There we go. So this stream is sponsored by the kind folks at TechSmith. I have been a TechSmith user for several years. I love everything that they do. They got some really great products out there. And if you're just getting started in instructional design, it is a slam dunk. I think it's a great deal if you do purchase their software and the things that they have, because it is less expensive, obviously, than the e-learning authoring tool. And you will see, hopefully in this series, it's a really robust tool to get started. But like other tools, you do have a great trial period with TechSmith Camtasia. You can get a trial, I believe, for 30 days. And when you render the video, it will have the TechSmith trial watermark. But I will speak, for myself. As a hiring manager, if I see something like that in your portfolio with a watermark, I actually get excited because I'm like, that's why you use a trial right there. That's a great use of a trial. You're being really thoughtful in how you're using it. So I think it's really good when you do use trials for that. So highly recommend. And should we tell them the exciting news now, Joe, of what's happening today? Should we?
Let's go
All
for it.
right. Actually, I lied. I forgot. So we are actually going to give some free product away today. So we have a TechSmith bundle. So it is a license of TechSmith Camtasia 2020 plus Snagit 2021. And Snagit is a great tool to take screen captures. I use it to make GIFs a lot, but we are giving that away. So to be eligible to win this today is you do need to at least comment once on one of our streams. So whether it's on YouTube or in the Crowdcast. And then I've actually given the reins to Mr. Suarez on how we're going to pick the winner. So I don't know if he takes bribes or not. So we'll see. All right. Looks like our friend Mr. Jonathan Rock is joining us on YouTube. So hello, J Rock. We are glad you're here, and we hope that you've had a lovely vacation. So, all right. So, as we get started, before we hop in, I do have TechSmith pulled up. I am going to show you kind of my full file of my portfolio piece of the branching video. But before we do that, I do want to kind of talk about how you can build a branching video, because I think that there's a lot of considerations that you may want to think about that. So I'm talking way too much. Joe, in your work as a consultant and then also in your experience as a corporate learning development professional, do you use branching? How do you use it?
Absolutely. So I've used branching several times in e-learning development, building courses, and different simulations and scenarios. It can be a little complicated, because essentially you're building out, when you're building different pathways, you're kind of building multiple courses, multiple versions of things, so to speak. But it definitely can be worthwhile with the right situation. It can be, you can tie things back into the real world in a way that just having something linear can't do.
How do you have that conversation with your subject matter experts? Is that a solution that you kind of push up front, or, in your experience, how do you sell that to your stakeholders? I know myself, I've had a hard sell with it. Have you had similar kind of roadblocks with it?
I think it's kind of the opposite. In my experience, it's kind of waiting for the right opportunity for it, and not if a simpler solution presents itself, going with that, and just waiting for the right situation to employ branching.
Okay. And I also know, if you are familiar with Kathy Moore's action mapping, one of kind of the tenets of action mapping is to really bring in kind of this real world scenario. What is it that someone needs to do? And I find branching is actually a really great way to make those kind of robust scenarios. So I think that was actually one of the reasons I wanted to make something like this. But to kind of give a little bit of background as to why I made a branching video in Camtasia, you may be like, well, why didn't you make it an e-learning authoring tool? Because silly, that's too easy, right? I wanted to try something new with TechSmith Camtasia. So I actually I built this portfolio piece for a conference presentation that I was doing. So the conference presentation was actually around, choose your own adventure. And I found out you're not allowed to say that, or they come after you. True story, they did send a cease and desist to me for using that. So now I say, pick your own path, determine thy own exploit, anything except choose your own adventure. So for this conference presentation, I wanted to build out, something for video, right? And so I was like, I wonder if we can do it in Camtasia. But before I even started about the tool, I had to really think about, Joe, what am I doing? Like, what is the point? So luckily, I was able to find my old slides from this conference presentation, and the whiteboard actually behind me, I just did a full map as I was building this out, right? So first of all, I thought about, like, who's the characters? Like, who are going to be the characters in the story? So I have Will, who is, someone that you work with, you're not really a fan of. And then I have this first perspective. So I kind of leave it ambiguous, like there's ambiguity there. You can see yourself in that, or maybe you're observing someone with this. So that was kind of the thought behind it. Joe, when you build these out, what do you usually do? Do you map it kind of like this? Do you start with the character, or do you start thinking about the branches?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point. It depends, of course. Every good answer is it depends. In this case, what do you want the person to be able to walk away? What do you want them to be able to do or understand as a result of having gone through the scenario or simulation? So I tend to like doing the first person thing because it gives you a chance, or the learner a chance, to really be in the shoes of either their potential future selves or somebody else. And one of the coolest cases of that I saw was at a what was that, DevLearn? So it's Demo Fest is what I'm thinking of. So I got a chance to see somebody else's course where it was a course on the rules for OSHA. So you have to comply to all these different rules, but it was from the perspective of an inspector that would come into a plant and observe different things. So it put you in the shoes of the inspector, and you walk around, and you would actually find the different violations as you walk around. So from somebody's perspective as an employee, it gives you it puts you in the shoes of the inspector, and you can now see what they're seeing and probably act accordingly as a result.
I love that. I think that that's also makes for a really sticky learning experience, right? When it's from a different perspective. That's a great example. So, Mr. Jonathan Rock said he remembers that conference presentation. That's actually the first time that I met Jonathan Rock in person, and we got into trouble, and we're not allowed to sit together at conferences anymore because we make each other laugh, and it's not always appropriate. Um, so thinking about that, you may want to start thinking about, as you want to build your own branching, what's kind of that story I want to tell. I love what Joe just said about picking something that may be compliance or something that's a little bit more mundane and then flipping the perspective. That's a great way for branching. For me, again, this was more of a very low fidelity. I just wanted to see if I could do it right. So I, just started with like this story that may have been inspired by true events, maybe. Not saying for sure, right? So whenever I have too many monitors. So when I was building this out, if you're familiar with some of those old like magazines, I, grew up on like 17 magazine and Teen magazine, right? All those little personality quizzes of like, are you mean or something? Hopefully not that, but what's your favorite fruit or something? And then you ask questions, and then you have to follow the branches to um, figure it out. I actually drew that on my whiteboard. So here is a picture when I was building this out of, here's like the first decision point, what want to see my pictures from Japan, right? So that was an anchor decision point. And so then there was no or yes. So I had two branches for each one of those anchor decision points is kind of how I started to build it out. And so I will tell you, for building this, I actually did use Storyline, and I used Storyline to bring in the character. Now, for the rebuild, I've been thinking about this. I'm actually not going to use Storyline for the rebuild. I'm going to kick it old school, and I think I want to use PowerPoint. What do you think about that, Joe?
I like it.
Yeah, because that way, again, it's something that you don't have to pay extra for. So you can build motion paths in PowerPoint to make it kind of look anime. And again, when I show you all kind of what this looks like, you may judge me harshly, and that's fine. But we're all friends here. We're all learning together, you know. So I actually just basically did a screen recording in Storyline and then brought it over into Camtasia for the little animation parts of it. So these were the tools that I used for that, and then the Snagit I used for the call outs. Um, so you're probably wondering, how did you do this? And actually used it through cue points in Camtasia. So if you hit Control M when you're in Camtasia, you can make these. Actually, I believe they're called markers. I'm calling them cue points. I guess I'm using storyline terminology here, so I'm sorry. But you can actually make kind of these markers to basically say whatever. And it's a nice tip if you actually do a lot in Camtasia. Joe, actually, I think you were the one that told me about this. You saw a video about the table of contents through this. Do you want to talk a little bit about that when you export a video?
Yeah, so through Camtasia, you have the ability to export to YouTube as an option. And when you put markers throughout your video in Camtasia, you then have the option to let YouTube automatically mark those uh, markers in in YouTube. I'm trying to think of another term for it. But if you've been to a YouTube video where it's kind of segmented, like a table of contents, where it has different sections that you can jump to and they're labeled, it's following that in from your Camtasia file, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really cool and it works really, really well. So, again, shout out to Joe for telling me about that. And I was like, oh, that's so great. But I didn't use it that way in this project. So I used it to make a jump point. So as you see here in the timeline on the picture, you see how I have these gaps here. Obviously when you're building a video regular, you're not going to have those gaps, right? That's going to be kind of a continuous flow because it would fade to black and be kind of weird, right? So this is actually these gaps. I have a force stop, and again, I'll show you when I pull it up, where you have to decide where to go. And the cue points are actually through hotspots on speech bubbles. So I will again show you all of that, but I thought it would be helpful to show you a picture. And I see we have a couple questions coming into Crowdcast. I want to make sure I can grab those as well. So I will start with Paula. Paula has a great question about, do I use twine to lay out your branching when planning your scenario? You absolutely can. For this particular project, though, I did not. I was kind of in a hurry and I wanted to use the whiteboard, and also shameless plug, I knew I wanted to take pictures of it for this conference presentation. So that's why I wanted it to look kind of pretty that way. But you definitely can use twine. If you're not familiar with twine, it's an open source uh, branching tool that you can make some really neat interactions with. So it's twinery.org, I believe, is the URL for twine. And actually, I have an example of something in twine that I made with a team when I was in school that you all can check out about asking good peacock questions. It was for nursing education. So if you want to check that out and see an example of what you can do with twine, there you go. But yeah, Paula, I think it's great. Joe, do you use twine?
I've looked into it a couple times, never really built anything with it, but I think it's really cool, and I love the fact that it's both free and publishes cleanly to HTML. So just nice open source all around. I did want to mention that so when you're writing out branching scenarios, anything where you can see the paths is way better than something like a Word document or PowerPoint where it's all in a straight line. So a mind mapping tool, there's tons of free mind mapping tools out there that you can get. I recommend one of those. Or if you happen to have Storyline, you can just use the different points as different slides that branch out, and you can kind of do it that way as well.
Yeah, I forgot about mind mapping. That's a great Great point. I'm also, again, sorry, we're doing multiple things at multiple times. I'm checking the Crowdcast chat and people are asking about the captions. This is actually Google Slides doing the captions here. To me, I think Google Slides is the best at live captions, and so that's what this is doing. So, not YouTube. It's Google Slides. We'll give credit where credit is due. I'm going to go ahead and answer Jennifer's question. I'm actually going to pose this one over here to you, Joe, first. So if you include something like this as a portfolio piece, Joe, would you like to see someone's sketch of this as well? Why or why not?
I would say yes if you're walking somebody through your design process, like if that's the part that you want to show off in your portfolio, versus if you just want to prove that you're competent at video editing and doing some more advanced functionality with Camtasia. If it's the latter, maybe the video is enough in itself. But if you want to show somebody your design process, absolutely include things like a sketch or a mind map or whatever you do to map things out.
Yeah, I agree. I think it strengthens your portfolio piece because it shares that journey, as Joe said, of your design process. And it's something I don't see a lot of people do. And so I definitely think it's something that can make you stand out in a positive way that a lot of portfolios that I've reviewed don't do. They just focus on the finished product. But I love, 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 love that it tells kind of that journey. So I'd say go for it, Jennifer. All right, and then a question from Anu in Crowdcast. We'll go ahead and hit this one up. Again, I'll start again with you, Joe, about if you have a preference over animated or pictorial characters for branching scenarios. So she's asking, do you want a real life looking person or a cartoonish? Do you have a preference there, Joe?
Yeah, again, all good answers. It depends. Um, it depends on, I would say, on the nature of what you're trying to instruct to. So if it's something that's really serious, probably don't want to go too far into the animated route unless you're getting kind of some really professional and serious looking illustrated characters or something like that. Definitely want to stay away from the cartoony kind of stuff if it's a serious subject. But then on the opposite side of things, if you want to take a more light and humorous approach, that might be a good way to go.
Yeah, I agree. I think it just kind of depends, but I think the advice Joe gave about the seriousness of the matter is also very good. So please keep those questions coming. I'm going to keep an eye in Crowdcast as well. So I know that you all are waiting to get to this, so we'll go ahead and hop back through here. So just to show you again how this functions, the video will actually stop. And I have this little counter here, I think of 5 seconds. And then when it gets to one, the video stops and you can't move forward unless you go through one of these two. So these are the little speech bubbles. And then I have a hotspot underneath the speech bubble that when you click the speech bubble, it will take you to the marker of whatever it is that I wanted to go to. Now, again, if you are newer to Camtasia, you might be like, I don't understand. We'll slow it down. I'll show you how it looks in the timeline, but I just wanted to show the functionality of it. So again, we make hotspots in speech bubbles, and then the user has to click the speech bubbles in order to jump to the next part of the timeline. All right. So I have some kind of takeaways that I have from making something like this. So I think that, these may or may not be helpful for you, but I think that just the big ones, I'm not going to read them to you, but I think it's super important to carefully consider those decision points. Like, are there ones that are just anchor ones, as I say, that, it either makes or breaks that scenario? And I also love hiding little fun Easter eggs in things like this, for replayability. I grew up on Homestar Runner, if you are familiar with that, and it was notorious for having Easter eggs throughout it. Rest in peace, Flash. I guess you can't visit Homestar Runner videos anymore, but I just always thought that that was fun. So I try to hide like a little something in them. So, Joe, what about you? When you build something like this, what are some kind of lessons learned?
Ooh, that's a great question. Lessons learned. So here's a big one, and this goes to anything you're doing in any video editing tool, including Camtasia, is you want to keep all your files in one folder. Even though you're pulling maybe some images from over here and some audio files from over there, you want to keep it all in one folder. And the reason that's so important is if you want to move some things around, or you want to open this video 2 years down the road, if you don't do that, you're going to find that things have moved, and you're going to find Camtasia giving you some error messages that you have some missing assets. So definitely keep things all together. And another good reason is if you need to share all the development files with somebody else, like Kara did with me with this project, she just put the entire thing up on Dropbox, and I just downloaded that folder and opened up the Camtasia file, and everything's there. I can see all the images and everything like that. So that's my big tip.
That's a great tip. And he's also judging me because I'm not the most organized with my files. I will name it picture 5, and I some people it drives it but people bananas, but that is also a good point too. As you're building this out, especially if you're part of a team and you're sharing this out, it is really important to be organized in case someone else has to revisit the file later down the road. It makes it a little bit better for them to make updates as needed. All right. So um, another thing you want to think about, and this is actually called the 3C model. This is something that Tom Coleman at Articulate actually kind of started, and I love it when you think about writing something like this. So basically, again, today we're going to be talking about, how do you write this? What are some things you want to talk about? So he talks about these 3C's: choice, consequence, and challenge. And again, if you all haven't picked up, I am a little bit of a video game nerd. So this is Bloodhound from Apex Legends, my favorite character. And one of my favorite video games, and sadly they're no longer around, are the Telltale games. And so this is a clip from Wolf Among Us, which basically it's very story driven. You have a lot of choices throughout, but some of those are, again, going back to the anchor choices. There's a consequence for selecting that particular choice, and you'll see it here in just a moment. It has like a little thing that'll pop up that the character will remember it, meaning that it was really pivotal to that character, and it may come back to bite you on the end. So I know we're not building video games here, but I just take so much inspiration from things like this. So highly recommend checking out anything by Telltale Games specifically. Very story driven, very consequence narrative driven, and there's a lot of really great insights that you can take from something like this. Actually, I think right here he remembers maybe. I'm trying to remember this clip. It was also very challenging to get a clip that wasn't super vulgar. There we go. Yeah, Mr. Toad will remember that. So that made an impact on him, and he will remember that. So Joe, what about you? Video games, do they help you?
Absolutely. It's such a good source of inspiration. If nothing else, just trying to piece together in your head all the different variables and things that are being tracked to keep track of all your choices that you make as you go through. Um, the one of the game that I played most recently that was like this was a game. The title doesn't really make sense, but it's called Detroit Become Human, I think. Just an incredible game, like such an immersive storytelling game. But then it has all these different paths that you can go down. And what I love about it is, unlike other games, you can actually go in and see your paths after the fact and see where you could have gone. And you can even back up and rewind and play from
Oh,
there. I
that's
thought that
cool.
was so amazing to see because I've played plenty of other games where it's like I would have loved that feature to kind of see all the different rabbit holes you could go down.
Yeah, I love that. And another thing about these Telltale games is after you get to the end of a chapter, it will tell you the percentage of other people that selected what it was that you selected. And I just always thought that was cool too. All right. The moment you've been waiting for, we're going to hop into Camtasia here. Okay. So give it a moment. Also in Crowdcast, if you see Joe's question. So if you click on the Ask a Question feature to be registered to win our bundle, please respond to Joe's question. A little sneaky. So I love it. All right. So here we are. We are in Camtasia, and I actually had to fire up my old computer to pull this out, right? This is before I backed everything up in Dropbox. And so this is actually the this is it. So just to show you, and I don't know how well the playback will be, but we'll just try it out at least until we get to this first part here. Actually, I'll just scrub. How's that sound? So I started off with putting you in the scene, right? I'm putting you in the office. Oh, it's another day. I'm back to work. Oh my goodness, right? And so there's some ambience here. I have some I have like people speaking in the background. I think I got like a noise of a printer in the background. You hear a phone ringing, right? And you're like, everyone's working so hard, and I don't hear a peep of that annoying Will, right? And then, hopefully he's still in Japan on vacation. And then again, all this is just stock video that I blurred. So if you're looking for something that's like, I need something that looks a little bit, whatever, I just actually took this video and I just applied like a transparency above it, and that's what that effect is. So all of these I blurred, I believe. So again, you're going there, and then now you are at your desk, and then, let me open that old ball and chain email, and then you've opened your computer, and then you're getting these little notifications. Again, it's time to go present to the boss, working for this moment, don't screw it up, okay? So from here, I'll go ahead and hit play. So could you all hear the audio? I don't know. Joe, okay. No. So I actually have like a little Charlie Brown, like want, 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 want when he talks. And I did that because, again, throughout the experience, if you pick the right path at the end, you actually hear him talk for the first time to kind of signify, hey, I actually maybe Will's not so bad after all. So that was kind of a design choice on my part. I'm going to be really self-deprecating of myself here, and just looking at this, I know that looks horrible. I mean, who just slides in like risky business he's just sliding across. Yeah, I could do a better job with that looking back. So again, you all can laugh at me, you can make fun of me, that's fine. So I got him coming in here, he's talking, and then here's our first decision point. So I got this little spinny number 54321, and then because we're previewing it won't do it, but it stops right here, and so they actually have to choose one of these two. So let me scroll up here. So I have it, I don't know if you all can see this. I might be able to make it a little bit, I probably won't be able to make it bigger, but I have flagged these as, different parts of the story. So this first one here is like when you meet Will. This is when he's upset. This is the first branch of if you want to see food pictures or pictures of the architecture of Japan. This is when he gets really mad. It's not a fun time. This is when you get laughed at for Will just making you look silly. And then I have two endings in this thing. I have an ending prime, meaning this is the optimal ending. And then I got like a subprime one, which is more of like a prankster one. So those are kind of the branches that I have in here. So let me see if I can click on, yeah. So if you can see this, I have, like, for example, just to show you, I have a hotspot here, and then when it's actually, I'm clicking on the wrong one here. Yeah, right here. So when you go up here to visual properties of these, this is where I put that hotspot. So see how it pauses at the end, meaning it's going to pause when that number gets there. And then I have it jump to the marker. Now, other cool things you can do is you can have them do click to continue. You can do a bunch of different stuff with it. But when I built this, this is how I built it. I want to jump over here, Crowdcast, see if I got any. I got a lot of questions coming in, but as I'm pulling these up, Joe, first impression, roast me.
There's no roasting. I was actually thinking that we should petition to change the slide animation to risky business. We should change the name of it.
Well, you know, the Jonas Brothers actually have a song that came out, "What a Man Gotta Do," and Nick Jonas actually reenacts that scene in the video. I'm just saying. I just putting that out there. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and answer some of these questions. So Tom is asking me about what I use to storyboard. You don't want to know. Maybe you do. I just sometimes I just draw on paper. Sometimes I use a whiteboard. Sometimes I use PowerPoint slides. Sometimes I use Word. I don't really have a consistent storyboarding methodology personally. I know that's probably not the answer you want to hear, Tom, but that's true. Joe, what about you? What's your storyboard go to?
Um, I'm not going to say it depends because I've said that too many times. So I'm going to say I usually do it in the tool that I'm developing if I can. But if it's something that we need to collaborate with SMEs back and forth on a lot, probably PowerPoint.
Yeah. All right. PowerPoint it is. Okay. These other two questions I'm going to hold because they seem a little bit more, culminating about, growing your portfolio, job advice. So we'll save that here to the end. So going back over here to our friend Will. I don't know if it will. It says test. We'll see what this does. I'm gonna play it here. Okay. So it tested the jump, which is nice. So I don't know how you all are. I actually had this conversation this week with my team at work. I'm the person that I do a little bit of something and then I back up and I look at it and I preview it. So that's why it takes me so long to develop stuff, right? Um, I, I've always been that way. I just want to see how it's kind of moving and grooving as I'm building. Joe, are you a build it then preview, or do you incrementally take back and step back and look at it?
I have to say that it depends. When I'm working on some things, when I'm working on, I don't let myself look at the preview because I'm like, I just need to move on and move fast. And then I'll publish, if I'm in Storyline, like I'll publish to HTML and then I'll catch things and then I'll fix them in Storyline. I found that's the quickest way to go. But if I'm building something where I need to see things over and over again, I preview a lot.
Yeah, I again, I should get better like that, but I don't know. And I think this is how I know that this is what I'm meant to do. I just get so giddy and excited about building stuff and putting kind of everything together. I don't know. It's just like it fuels me to just like admire my work. I know that sounds kind of weird, but
I actually had a manager once who called me out on it. He's like, "You've been pushing that box around on the screen for 45 minutes. Just move on." And he was right.
well, I'm not a box pusher, but yeah, I get that too. You can get lost in the weeds here. All right. Going back here, so you will see like this is the first branch. And so I'm just going to keep it going here just to show you. So if you select no here, that no, I'm on my way to a presentation, our pal Will doesn't like that very much. And so he's like, "Well, what do you mean no? Like, wait till you see this fox in a red collar." And he's wanting to know if that sweetens the pot for you. And so here you got it again. Now you can go back and say, "Yes, let's look," or you can deny him again. Okay. So if you deny him again, I'll go ahead and hop over here. He's like, "I knew you never liked me. I don't know what your problem is." Like, coworker from hell, right? I mean, and then, here is what happens. So you get this kind of, whoops, try again. You've kind of went way too far off the path I want you to go. So you can either start from the beginning or start when you see Will. So start from the beginning, starts the video all over again, or you can start when he first slides into the frame. Now, back here, if you say, "Yep, you talked me into it," you get Look how giddy he is. He's just so happy, right? Then you pick food or beauty or history, right? So that is like, again, going back to when I was talking about like an anchor choice. This is an anchor choice, right? So you got to either go one or the other, and they both have pretty different consequences. So here's the food. I actually, it's so funny. I got these. There's a website that I use sometimes called Callouts, and Callouts had just random pictures of Japan that was free to use, and that was actually how I decided Will was going to go to Japan because this website had these pictures, and so brought those in. And then here he comes back saying, he's got to go get a cleanse. Will you take over this project? And so, again, what do you think? So, you have a yes or a no. Again, I made this really simple. I know that sometimes people may make like, multiple things, but I just wanted to focus on two for this particular time. Maybe I have another question in here. Oh, the comment is for Joe's. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Right. Joe, you're getting a lot of bites on your question over there on Crowdcast. All right. So either yes or no here to help him. And so if you do help him, basically you get made fun of in the office because you had to alphabetize files, right? So he gave you the work no one wanted, right? And so kind of similar to the other one, you can either start from the beginning or go back to when you first see Will. Okay. Um, For if you want to go back here, if you want to go to history, and again, going back and looking at this, I could organize this so much better because I'm even having trouble keeping up with where I put things. So the markers are really good about that. At least it tells me where to go, and just by looking at a little bit of the title, I can kind of guess. But yeah, it's interesting. Okay. So for history, again, that same website gave me, I think this is Kyoto. And then there's the fox in the red collar. He did not disappoint. Right there it is. And then here, you actually hear Will talk for the first time. And I actually had my husband does the voiceover for that. And you can hear him talk. And that'll be the first time that you hear his voice saying that, maybe this guy's not so bad after all. And I also realized I didn't share the link so you all can also see this. So I put it over in Crowdcast, or if you go to my website, it's on there as a portfolio piece. So here it is, looks like you all bonded. And then kind of the similar thing, you have a choice whether, yeah, we'll talk more, or hey, I need to get back to work. So can you all guess where this is going? If you say, I want to get, I want to chat soon, then, he helped you on a project that you didn't know you needed help with. And then, happy ending Disney style, right? And then, I have, you can replay or you can start again. Now, the troll ending here is, you're like, oh, yep, I gotta get back to work. So you're going to your meeting a few doors away, and then somebody wants to show you the video of their dog working at home. So it kind of starts all over again. So that was kind of it. All in, as you can see, this is a really short video, but as people are experiencing it, and again, if you want to go through it as well, you can to also see what that's like. But any questions about any of that so far? I'm going back
So
here.
we got one
Go
in
ahead.
Crowdcast. Jennifer's asking if there are branching scenario templates that you know of.
For Camtasia offhand, I don't actually. Do you?
I don't either. I think it's something, it's so tied to that interactive hotspot that I'm not sure if you can really templatize it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I mean, I guess you could strip out stuff like this and then have it to where it has the hotspot with a go-to. But yeah, I offhand I don't know of any templates for this. So, um, Joe, what are your overall thoughts on this? Have you built something like this before in Camtasia?
I have to admit, I've not done it where it jumps around in the same video itself. So this is pretty cool. I like it.
Well, thank you. Again, I'm going back and seeing I'm borderline embarrassed of some of this stuff. So this should be a fun series to rebuild it. So I'm looking at the time. We're actually getting pretty close to the end of our time, which I can't believe it's went by that quickly. So I'm going to stop the screen share. I'm going to pull something else back up. So hang tight 1 second here. All right. So getting you again thinking about if you want to build along with us, right, in this series and you want to build your own thing, going back to that 3C model of Tom Coleman, if you want to think about, for your choice, like, what are some options that you want your person to go through, right? So I love Joe's example about the OSHA inspector. So what are some of those decision points that that person is going to have to go through? Is there a challenge, right? So is there kind of a reason why they would pick one thing over another? Would it be related to a policy or law? Would it be more of a personal thing? Like what kind of what's in it for them? And then the big one is what are the consequences for their choice? Is it they completely lose? Is it, well, you shouldn't have done it this way. There was a better way to do it. Or is it, hey, great work. This is why this is correct. And then they can move on. So I think that that's really important to think about too. And if you want to think about storyboarding this, Tom, this might be a way that you want to storyboard this. Again, this is from Tom Coleman's blog, but he has, you got your little character here, you got the choices, the consequence, if you had a question or prompt. And I think that that would also, it looks kind of similar, I think, to the way that I did it in Camtasia. All right. With that, I am going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Suarez because I think he's got something to give away.
All right. If you look in our chat there, Kara, I've just put a link in. I was looking for a good random number generator website, which they are few and far between, but I found one that should not disappoint.
All right. Let me pull it up here, Joe. Maybe. There we go.
Okay, so I see 15 comments. If you put in from 1 to 15 and hit spin, and we'll just count how many comments in that is.
All right. Good luck, everyone.
Ooh, this is way more dramatic.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it is.
It was real quick when I did it. Oh, number 5. Good. We don't have to count too far.
All right.
So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me double check. Don't want to have any. What was that award show where they said the wrong thing?
There's been a lot of them, I think, that say the wrong thing.
The winner is La La Land or whatever it was. Michael Shea is our winner.
Yay, Michael! Congratulations.
I'm sorry, Michelle. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be hosting any award shows anytime soon.
No, I think you're done, Joe. No, so Michelle, congratulations. If you will send me a message on LinkedIn or get a hold of me somehow, I will send you your license numbers for the Snagit bundle. So congratulations. We're glad that you're here and we're glad that you won. So congrats and happy that you won. So as we wrap up, I'm going to hop back over to Crowdcast, see if there's any other kind of last questions. We had some culminating ones here. So I'll go ahead and toss this first one over to Mr. Suarez. Lynette is asking, it looks like she's wanting to grow her portfolio so she can land her first ID job. So Lynette, are you asking maybe the validity of having a portfolio? I'm assuming that's what you're asking. So Joe, what do you think? Portfolios, are they important?
Absolutely. They're becoming critical at this point. If you don't have a portfolio, you're really, it's becoming at this point. And then it becomes a question of, well, what goes in your portfolio? So if you're asking, should I put something with Camtasia in my video, or this branching simulation? Definitely some type of video, something I think would be helpful. And, I like to say you should show off as far as your skills can go. So if this branching thing is a little too much, just maybe something a little bit a step or two down from this, just some kind of thing that shows off that Camtasia and can use it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've done some research, which I'm still trying to get it published. The whole getting things published in an academic journal is quite the venture. But I actually did a analysis of job postings in the past year, and I pulled out like the top three tools that were mentioned. And in order, Articulate Storyline was number one, Adobe Captivate was number two, and TechSmith Camtasia was number three. So I feel like if you could really focus on mastering those three, you are going to be really well positioned in the market. And to what Joe said about if this is going to be beyond your skill set, if you go to my YouTube channel, Unfiltered ID, I streamed at the beginning of the year an easier project for you start to finish. And I have an exercise file. I basically do the whole Addy process start to finish with that. So it's about I think it's like 5.5 hours of content, but if it's something that you want a guide to go through, it's out there free for you to enjoy. So recommend checking that out. All right. Another question is ID. Let's see. I think that's a similar question about how to use the software. So I'll go ahead and delete that one. And I'll get rid of this one. All right. Jennifer, we answered that question about the templates. All right. Gabriella asks, how do you allow the user to click the option in the storyline through Camtasia? Oh, I think you were asking about the hotspots. Yeah. So what we've done is on the image, we put a hotspot on it to where it will trigger to that particular part. I think that's what you were
And
asking.
that's all in Camtasia. As functionality wise, there's no storyline going on, even
Correct.
though hotspots is a feature in Storyline, same name, but in this case, it's all being contained in Camtasia.
All right, I'm getting my YouTube channel ready because people are asking for it in Crowdcast. There you go. Unfiltered ID. I got a lot of content on there. And Mr. Suarez, you want to talk about your YouTube channel?
Yes, my I'm kind of on a hiatus posting to it, but I do have my own YouTube channel. It's called Elearning Out Loud. So if you want to find that as well, I guess I can drop a link in to
Yeah, please.
Crowdcast.
Please. Yeah,
And
he's
of course,
actually
we
got
should
a.
mention
Oh,
it. We
sorry.
have a podcast together. So we do the Instructional Redesign podcast, where you can, wherever you get your podcast, check us out.
Yeah, we do a lot of things together. We're friends in real life, and we live in the same city, and yeah, do the same job. So it's kind of cool. But I'm just checking one last thing for the. Uh, oh, yep, I have another question here. So Lou is asking, so you can publish this into YouTube. Anyone can click on the hotspot while they're watching. That's a great question. The answer to that is actually no. So the way that this was hosted, if you go to my website or you just double click, you click the URL, I think it's go.osu.edu/trip, and then the number 2, Japan. You have to publish it using Camtasia's Smart Player. And so it is like HTML based. And so you have to publish it using that in order to use these features. So nice thing is you can actually publish it if you save it in screencast.com, which is part of Camtasia. You can host it there. And I want to say you start with a um, pretty significant amount of space. Like, I mean, that's free in there. So for this particular one, I hosted it to Screencast, and then I linked the Screencast to my portfolio, and that's how I hosted it. And Joe's back. He had too
Yeah,
many tabs open.
got a little too aggressive closing all those tabs. Sorry.
It's okay. I was over here looking at the comments. I didn't even know you were gone, so I'm sorry about that. All right. So next steps, next steps. So we are going to be streaming the next 4 Saturdays. I'll put a little schedule up. So actually, I know we were at 11 a.m. Eastern today. We're going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern the rest of the series. So every Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can find us here in Crowdcast. If you're already here in Crowdcast, you don't have to do anything else. Just come back via this link, and then when we start, it will start the new session automatically for you. I do have a few more spots open in this, so tell people, share it on social media, let folks know that, we are doing this. Also, let people know that this is being sponsored by TechSmith, and you may win some more stuff. I'm have more stuff to give away. We'll put it that way. So you never know what else we're going to be giving away. So we really appreciate TechSmith sponsoring this stream and really being just great people to work with. So with that, Joe, do you have any final wisdom for us?
I do. I have a quick tip. If you are in Crowdcast, it's a little confusing when there's a series. You have to go up and click on the corner where it says schedule session 1 of 5 and go to the other sessions to actually get there, or at least that's been my experience. So just a little pro tip there.
It's a great tip. So anyway, please, we're excited to have this journey with you. If you decide to work along with us, let us know. We'd love to see all of that. And, if it's something that you're thinking, you do want to buy your own version of Camtasia, I do have a special code. So you can use coupon code KiraNorth10, and it gives you 10% off your TechSmith purchase. So if you wanted to use that, you could. Or if you go to my YouTube channel, all of my TechSmith videos, I do have affiliate links there that automatically apply that coupon code for you as well, so you don't have to remember it. So Kara North 10 gets you 10% off. And with that, we will bid you all a happy holiday. Have a blessed Easter if that's your holiday of choice, and we'll be back next Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please connect with us. We'd love to continue this conversation, and thank you all so much, and have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.